Deafrowe with Deafrowe TV here, and I'm back again with another review. And to finish off the trilogy of the Pulse movies with Pulse 3. But before I get started, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Hit that notification bell so you can see the other stuff that I put out there. And let's get started with this review. Pulse 3, 2008, made the same year as Pulse 2, Afterlife. This one starring a whole different cast, but it is a continuation of Pulse 2 directly. Unlike 2 is the 1, which has nothing to do with 1. 2 and 3 are a completely, I guess, set. You could say they're just a set of movies that go together. I mean, you could watch 2 and 3 by themselves and never watch 1, and you wouldn't know the difference. So we get into Pulse 3. We start off with Ryder Strong's character, which is Adam in this movie. If you don't know who Ryder Strong is, that's old dude from Boy Meets World. And he has this long distance relationship going with a woman named Sawa, which is who you see here, played by Noreen DeWolf. And then basically, he has like all these webcams and screens all over his apartment where they talk to each other and basically see each other from day to day in a long distance relationship of some sort. And then all of a sudden, one night, he goes to sleep and she comes back on the screen and she's trying to like get his attention, like, hey, I found this website and it has all these things on it, and this is kind of like it's showing you where his character was or was during the whole beginning of the Pulse situation, with the signal starting to get into people's computers and phones and everything else. And of course, she's like, "Hey, check this out," all this stuff, and then like he wakes up the next morning and sees like all the screens are messed up, and then he sees her like just taking her phone and going and basically not answering his questions or anything about what she's doing. And she basically gets on top of a building and jumps off to her death because she has been affected by the signal. And at this point, uh, Adam here, he's like freaking out. He just kind of like sits on the couch and like ponders what he's going to have to do. And then it cuts away from this whole story and goes to and meets up with. Well, let's see if I can get back here. So yeah, he just like sits down, like wonders what the hell is he going to do now. And then of course, cut 7 years later, West Texas, 7 years later, and we meet up with Justine again. If you remember, Justine from the first or the second movie, Pulse 2, Afterlife, is the little girl that the ex wife that has turned into a ghost was coming after during the entire movie. And this is her 7 years later, and she's played by Brittany Fenimore, but it's still the same character. And she's like in class right here, and the class is being taught the values and everything of the religious values as well, not just the cultural values, but of the Amish. And then going over like why technology is bad, it's the devil, it's all this other stuff, and I mean, and technically it is for them because that shit's killing everybody. So she's reading like this old magazine from from the time that the technology was still around. And like I said, it's 7 years later, so the little girl is pretty much a teenager at this point. And got this guy here. I can get a good shot of him. So yeah, she's basically living with Amy and Cliff, who she had met on the bus in the second movie when the father told her to run to that bus, and then their son Zach. And she ain't quite exactly, all there. She doesn't really like living like this, and she wants to go back to the city. She wants to go back to the way things were, and she's like in this car, this abandoned car on the road nearby, and she's looking around it, and she finds this laptop in there. She thinks she can get it going again, and of course she's having like flashbacks here. Anyway, things keep going, and she's pondering right here, having dinner again with Amy, Cliff, and Zach. She's pondering like whether should go off and do her own thing. And then she finally she plugs the laptop into like a generator or whatever, trying to get the battery to charge up. Which, as you can see here, she's got it wide open. It's got all this mold and crap on it. It looks kind of nasty, and I'm like pretty sure a laptop would not work properly in this condition, much less still the Wi-Fi, but still catch a signal. That's what's so crazy about this. Is like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that would work all that great. Zach confronts her about it, and she's like, he doesn't really care too much. But anyway, she starts talking to a dude named Adam, which is the Ryder Strong character, through the this chat. It's totally catfishing, man. I'm just crazy, weird shit. Anyway, she, because she has nobody her for some reason she has nobody her age around to talk to or to be friends with in that little area that they're in West Texas. And so she's chatting with this dude, and of course she's buttering her up, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll be your boyfriend and all this other stuff, because Adam was already in a long distance relationship as it was, so he knew what words to say to get her to do what he wants her to do. And he basically like tells her, you need to come to the city, do blah blah blah, and she decides to take off, and that's kind of what she does. And as she's taking off, she's going back by places that she recognizes from when they were trying to escape 7 years ago. One of them was the gas station. So anyway, they do a little bit of green screening here, but not as much as the second movie. So I would say number three is a little bit better than the second one, in that sense that it doesn't have as much green screen time. It still has some, but not near as much. And you can tell that they actually use sets, real houses, real places to go to in this one. And she ends up finding this old black dude out here in the middle of nowhere that's still farming and everything. And he figures out she's got a laptop in the book bag, and so he changed the laptop in the book bag into a dresser nearby so she can't use it. And so yeah, next day she wakes up and goes to get the laptop, eats the oatmeal and all this stuff, and goes to leave and realizes the laptop's not in the bag. So she starts running back to the house, and the old man just knocks her out as she walks up to the house. Let's see, get a shot of this right here. Yeah, she's running back. And like I said, she gets there, and the old man's basically waiting there for her and knocks her out, drags her in, changes her to a furnace. And the old man proceeds to open up the laptop, and the signal for his wife's ghost comes in, and basically the wife watches what makes him watch herself blow her head off several times over and over again before she finally just sucks the soul out of him. But she doesn't. The wife's ghost doesn't mess with Justine for some reason, because Adam has some type of control over the ghost. And that's when Justine gets back on the laptop and is like, "Who are you? How are you able to control these ghosts without, why are they not attacking me and that kind of thing?" And Adam's like, "All will be revealed when you get here," and all this stuff. Like speaking in codes and not answering questions and stuff. She's like, well, you know what? I've come this far, might as well do it anyway. So she just starts heading that way. And then she gets closer into the city. She starts to see more ghosts, including her mom again, which is right here. And of course, they're not really messing with her or anything because she's just trying to. The ghosts are all in cahoots, basically. They all know what each one's thinking, and Adam, being the main one in control, is telling them to all leave her alone. So yeah, she has this moment with her mom's ghost that she just kind of whatever. Anyway, she finds this tall building with a bunch of red tape in the window, and she figures, and that's where Adam, the address that Adam gave her to go to. So she goes there, and she finds an old adversary or foe, if you really want to think about it. It's old dude in red from the second movie, the one that made her father find that chip in the warehouse that he could use to bring this whole thing to an end. In this movie, he's the man with a plan. In this movie, in the second movie, it was just the man in red. So it's played by the same guy, Todd Giebenhain. I don't know if I'm saying that name right. If I did, my bad. Anyway, he remembers her and Chatty Cathy, the whole nine yards, and then throws her inside a room with one of the ghosts that he had captured, and he basically made like a box full of red tape, and he tricked the ghost in getting in there, and he's got the ghost trapped in this little boxed off area, and he's trying to explain he's got a plan to bring all these ghosts down and all this other stuff, and what he can't figure out is why and how she found him, and so he's kind of paranoid about trusting her, which he is right in doing so because the person that she's trusting to be there is one of the ghosts. So you find out later that Ryder Strong's character Adam is not what he claims to be. Even as a ghost, he claims to be a good one when he ain't. So yeah, you find that out later. But she ends up tricking the man with a plan to come into the room with the ghost because the ghost, like I said, Adam's got control over the ghost, and they're not messing with her. And so he threw her in that room thinking that the ghost was going to end up sucking her soul out, and she doesn't, and the ghost doesn't. So now he goes in there to confront and tricks him into opening the door, and then the ghost gets out and gets him. So yeah, she opens up a little spot so the ghost has a wavelength to get through on the red tape. So she does that just to get him to open the door. But anyway, as this is happening, he's explained that he's been in touch with certain military members throughout the world, and they were going to send 80 something, I can't remember the exact numbers, like 87 nukes. They're going to set them off in the atmosphere above the entire world in order to kill every signal there is in order to get rid of these ghosts, and they can go retake the cities over again, retake the civilization over again. And so that's what he's kind of going over the whole plan with her. And the whole reason that Adam wants her there is to get this USB drive away from the man with the plan, because he created something using the chip that her dad found in the warehouse in the second movie. He created something that will be able to beam the signal through the infrared stream, and it would make these ghosts almost whole again, like they would be able to touch and feel and do everything a human can do, basically bringing them back to life in a way, in a sense. And that's the reason Adam has sent her there, is to get that USB from him. But she's not really paying attention to what he's saying about all the nukes and stuff. And I don't think the rest of the ghosts really understand what the man with the plan is talking about. And so she lets this ghost out on him, which is kind of bad, in my opinion. She not knowing what she's doing. So he's like freaking out. He's like, "Did that ghost get out of there or whatever?" And then the ghost like trying to say the word, and you. And then he's kind of an asshole, but at the same time, he really is trying to save the world. You find out later. And then this happens to him. So she lets the ghost get him, sucks his soul out, and then he ends up shooting himself in the head, which you see later. Then she finally meets Adam, which you find out is, like I said, he's a ghost. But he has somewhat control over his cognitive ability, and he's trying to get this USB in this laptop together to run the program that he had created to run it through the red infrared signal so that he could come back in a way. So she puts the USB in, runs the software, sets it down, and he becomes somewhat real again. And then they start hugging and doing all this other stuff, and then she starts to ask him certain questions he still can't answer. And then she's like, "Oh my God, you're not really a nice person at all. Really, you just used me to get what you wanted." And then he explains that, like, after Sawa died, he really didn't give a shit about anything else, and the only thing that he worried about was surviving himself. And so the days after Sawa died and the signal gaining ground on everything, he kind of went berserk, killing other folks so he could have food for himself to survive in this little red room. Anyway, so she, knowing that she's been tricked into doing what he wanted, she don't want nothing to do with him, and just leaves him basically, and uh, just puts her foot down on the laptop, breaks the laptop, and then just walks off. And then as she's wandering through town, she sees all the ghosts. They're still not messing with her or anything like that because of what she's done. But then as she gets out into the country a little bit, and there's a cell phone nearby, and it was ringing, and that old man with a plan's coming through the signal trying to get his revenge on her. But about that time, yeah, about that time, that's when all these nukes are starting to go off in the atmosphere. Apparently, when they didn't hear back from the man with the plan, they realized that he had been compromised and went ahead and did the whole nuke strategy to go ahead and get rid of the signal. And that's kind of what happens is all the ghosts kind of disappear, like you see right here. Everything is gone now. All the signal is gone. All the ghosts are gone. And then she kind of just heads back to there you go. They're talking. She again talking about the Amish people and that kind of stuff. But yeah, you see what happens to Adam. Like right here, he's starting to try to suck her soul out, but it doesn't work because there's the nukes are going off above. They lose the signal, and then because if I can get a good shot, yeah, right here you see Adam. He's feeling the effects of the nukes going off, and he's like, "Oh crap, what's going on? I'm losing the signal." And all the ghosts start to disappear because of the nukes going off in the atmosphere, creating a huge ass EMP throughout the world is what they were trying to do, and get rid of the damn signal throughout. But even though he's got the infrared signal and he's come back to being almost normal, it it still can't survive the EMP. So Adam is no longer, and she survives and decides to head back to the West Texas area and live like the Amish. All maybe it ain't so bad after what she's been through, and that kind of ends the movie right there. I mean, like I said, There's a little bit of green screen time in this movie, not as much as the second movie, so I might give it a little bit higher rating, but it's still a decent movie. I wouldn't say it was a great movie. Still in the decent range. Um, maybe like a 50%, maybe. But yeah, 2.5 stars, maybe. I'll give it that. And that's kind of my rating on it, really. But yeah, Pulse 3, 2008, starring Ryder Strong, Brittany Fenimore, Noreen DeWolf, and Todd Griebenheim. What I keep Giebenheim, whatever, as the man with the plan. Let's nuke everything with it and make some EMPs. 7 years later after the second movie, and 7 years later after really the first movie too, because the second movie kind of just picks up alongside the first movie, and then so this one just continues from the second movie 7 years later. So anyway, and that is my review, and that is me, Deafrowe.